Welcome to Real Success with Steve Dennis. You are now tuned in to another episode of Real Success. This is the podcast where we share inspiring stories based on relationships, encouragement, attitude, and the leading of self. We're so glad you can join us. And now, here's your host, Steve Dennis.
Well, hello and welcome to Real Success with Steve Dennis. I am so glad that you have chosen to join me on this particular episode today, and I'm extremely excited about some things I'm going to share with you. They're coming directly from my heart. At this stage and age of my life, I do a lot of reflecting on my career, my past career, and some of the lessons that I've learned. One of my favorite statements that I love to share, especially with a younger generation of leaders, and oftentimes it's a huge attention getter when I talk with millennials, for an example, and I let them know that I want to share with them lessons that I've learned from mistakes that I have made. It's pretty exciting how the room kind of lights up because here's an older guy who's a leader, but I'm coming across in a way of not to to be like an authority figure in the lives of the younger generation, but if anything, to come alongside of them and to be a voice of reason, a voice of encouragement, and on top of that, a voice of hope, to let them know and to encourage them that. And there's some mistakes that I made as a leader, and I endeavor to share with them some of those mistakes and how I learned from those, and hopefully it'll help to make their journey a little bit more pleasant or a little bit more acceptable. Okay, so I'm going to be talking to you today. Let me go and just get to the point. I'm going to be talking to you today about keys to leading yourself well. Keys to leading yourself well. And that is important to me because, again, I'm basing it on, the very first formal leadership position that I had at the age of 21. I worked at a youth detention center, and after being there for a year, I was promoted to the second shift supervisor, where my role was to supervise the staff on second shift. And oftentimes that position also had me, leading people that were old enough to be my parents. I mean, I had two guys that had been working there at this center since 1972. Okay, and I was born in 65, right? So you do the math on that one. And so here I am years later in that position, and so. It was somewhat challenging, but at the same time, I want to share some of the mistakes that I made, lessons that I learned from some of the mistakes I made. But ultimately, I love this statement, this title today, Keys to Leading Yourself Well, because in the midst of any leadership position that you have, it is so vitally important that we learn some principles of how to lead ourselves. And I have to be honest with you, acknowledging that leading myself is a challenge, and it is, and it brings back some painful memories, because a lot of my leadership breakdowns have been personal breakdowns. And I don't mind, just even being completely transparent with you that, it was so vitally important to learn that the power of leadership is in my ability to do it first, okay? And that's very important for all of us, no matter who you're leading. The power of your leadership is in your ability to do it first. In other words, to lead you first, okay? And again, my friend, you can make this applicable. This can actually be applied in the area of if you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, and again, on your job, if you're a supervisor, or if you're the CEO of a company. The question is, how well are you leading you? And I love the power of leadership. Almost makes me wonder if I should have changed the title, okay? But really and truly, what I had to learn at 20-something years old is that the power of my leadership with others is in my ability to do it first. And it's so much, and again, this statement is something, or this particular principle is what I wish I would have known at 22 years old. I wish I'd have known at 25. Because 5 years later, I went on to become a juvenile probation officer, and even in that position now, I'm not necessarily leading a staff, but I'm mainly now leading family members and the clients that I work with, the teenagers that were on my caseload. And again, sometimes when you deal with burnout and when you deal with the pressures of leading and when you're dealing with some of the, the adverse circumstances that can show up in leading, some of the emotional turmoil that you deal with, the stress that you sometimes go through in leading. And again, the focus oftentimes is on leading other people. And sometimes, my friend, I believe that we forget to tap into the power of leading ourselves first. So I want to share with you a couple of principles, and this will be a two-part episode here today on, again, the keys to leading yourself well, okay? So let's go ahead and jump in, and let's just see what will transpire. The first key, the very first key that I have for leading yourself well, and I just love this key because it was very, very important to me, and I think you're going to find value in how important it will be for you as well. The first key is to develop and deploy self-discipline. Okay? Develop and deploy self-discipline. Oh, how important it is. I have a definition for self-discipline that I just really, really love. And really, discipline is the ability. Get this. If you're able to take notes, this might be worth writing down. Discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and to follow through with it. Wow. I just love it. Discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and to follow through with it. Okay? And so when I'm talking about developing and deploying discipline, how well are you and I giving ourselves a command? And whatever command we give ourselves, we follow through with it. We carry it out. Okay? So for an example, we are all responsible for ruling our actions and our decisions. We are, okay? And here's what I believe. To make consistently good decisions, okay? To take the right actions when needed, and to refrain from the wrong actions, to do that requires character and self-discipline, okay? If not, I wind up losing control of myself if I'm not really consistently making good decisions and taking the right actions when needed. If I, and I, again, going back to my early days as a leader, I remember one time when I made a wrong decision. But I'm grateful and glad that I did not continue to keep making wrong decisions, okay? It's when, leading yourself is when you've made a mistake and you own up to it and you realize, okay, I made that decision and it wasn't a good decision to make. How can I go back and develop and deploy self-discipline in my decision-making abilities? Here's what I believe, okay? I love sharing this with you when it comes down to making decisions, is that, before I make, for even now in my leadership journey, before I make a decision, I ask myself, I do a reflection time, okay? I ask myself, okay, Steve, before you make this decision, here's the question. Will you be able to manage it after you make it? Will you be able to manage this decision after you make it? Do you have what it takes to manage this decision? If you can foresee that it would be challenging and difficult to manage this decision, then you may not want to make it. Okay, and that is so vitally important as a key to leading yourself well. That will serve you. That will help you. Okay. Number two, the second key I want to share with you, which is huge, I believe, as well. And another key to leading yourself well. Number two is practicing patience. Oh, I can hear you now going, oh, no. But yeah, it's very important. Practicing patience. Because, as a leader and as an influencer, and again, I want to make this applicable to you no matter what position you're in, no matter what leadership role you're playing. Back in my early days, again, of leading at the Youth Detention Center, I was also a husband and a father. And I had leadership responsibilities and roles in all three of those areas. Okay, a leader at my church. And my whole point is simply this, that oftentimes when you're leading people and leading yourself, I think you would probably agree with me that sometimes being patient can be a challenge. Right? It's like almost like we forget about practicing patience until all of a sudden an event shows up and we're like, oh my goodness, I got to slow down. I got to be patient. But I want to encourage you with, again, the key here is to practice patience and not just wait until something shows up, because it is easy, right? Because what I know about leaders is this: leaders look ahead, they think ahead, and they want to move ahead. That's in the nature of a leader. You're looking ahead, you're thinking ahead, and you want to move ahead, and that can all be good, but at the same time, it can be challenging because things don't show up as quick as you want them to. Things don't happen as quick as you want them to. Okay. It can be good that you're a leader, that you think ahead and look ahead and you want to move ahead. But at the same time, you can't be, 50 steps ahead of the people that you're leading. Okay. And that's why you have to practice patience, because you may already see the vision ahead of you. You already see the destination. You've already been to the mountaintop and you can see the promised land, but you got to come off that mountaintop and take the people with you. And sometimes that journey doesn't happen or go as quick and fast as you would like for it to go. And that's why it's important to at least incorporate this principle, this key that you have at your disposal of practicing patience. And my friend, here's the rub. To make sure you're practicing patience with yourself. Just take a chill pill, right? And again, how can I practice more patience with me, which will allow me to be empowered in practicing patience with others? Because, again, here we go. What I wish I would have known in my 20s and I now know in my 50s, and that is very simply this: there is no such thing as instant greatness. There's no such thing as instant maturity. Okay? And in our world today, we're just so used to everything being instant. We have, in fact, I will probably eat today some instant oatmeal. I have instant rice. We have instant popcorn, microwave popcorn. Okay, but as well as I do, instant maturity and instant greatness and instant leadership doesn't just happen in an instant. It takes time. It takes time. And again, practicing patience with yourself. In other words, getting to a place in your life where you tell yourself, okay, at least I'm on course. It may not happen when I want it to. I may not get the result that I really want to get. I may be slacking, or I may not be as effective with one of my kids as I am with the other two, but practice patience, okay? Be patient with yourself. Don't put so much pressure. One of the most powerful advices that one of my mentors gave me about 5 years ago in the process of building my business, and he could just sense in my voice that I was kind of bummed out that, deals were not coming through like I had planned or wanted them to. And I wasn't reaching some of my goals that I had already set. And he said to me, he said, Steve, number one, be light on yourself. And number two, stay away from self-judgment. Stay away from self-judgment. And I want to share that with you today on this episode. Be light on yourself as a leader. Be light on yourself. What would happen? Think about the things that would transpire if you would just, again, incorporate that in your life, to be light on yourself and to stay away from self-judgment. It has been my experience that oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes, the people that can be very judgmental towards other people publicly is simply because they're judging themselves privately. So, again, another acid test would be, how quick am I to judge others publicly? And how can I reverse that and look in the mirror and ask myself, oh, okay, how is that showing up in my life privately? Leader, listen to me very carefully. I'm going to wrap this episode up. One of the most powerful questions that you can ask yourself as a leader in regards to this key of practicing patience and this other key of developing and deploying self-discipline. Here's a question for you. How well is that working for me? Okay. How well is this working for me? Is what I'm doing as a leader, is it serving and supporting me? Okay. And let me give you this quote, and I'm going to be done today, and I'll come back and give you part 2 of this particular episode later. Okay. This is a very unique quote. I just love it. When we are foolish, we want to conquer the world. Okay. When we're foolish, we want to conquer the world. But when we are wise, we want to conquer ourselves. Oh, yeah, very good stuff. I know I can probably hear you saying, oh, man, that was good. Absolutely. So the challenge today in leading yourself well is to tap into your own wisdom and to recognize that wisdom lies within you, waiting to be activated. Because when we're wise, we're not wanting to conquer everybody else. We're not wanting to conquer our team. We're not wanting to conquer our family. When we're wise, we want to conquer ourselves. Because here we go again. I love it. The power of my leadership is in my ability to make sure I do it first. Well, hey, thank you for this episode. Thank you for being with me today. And I look forward to coming back with you. In fact, I can tell you now, the next episode, we're going to dig a little deeper into some reflection questions that will help you to move your leadership life and even your leadership legacy to your next level. Thank you very much. See you now on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us this week. Be sure to visit the website at www.steveadennis.com. You can follow on Facebook and Instagram. Please subscribe to the podcast via Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify at stevedennis1.podbean.com. Be sure to tune in every Wednesday for new episodes. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next episode.